Disaster was averted at dawn this morning in New York City when a police action to forcibly remove Occupy Wall Street protesters from their encampment in Zuccotti Park was called off at 6:18 a.m.
Brookfield Properties that they are postponing their cleaning.
Brookfield Properties, the owner of the park, issued this statement. At the request of a number of local political leaders, Brookfield Properties has deferred the cleaning of Zuccotti Park for a short period of time while an attempt is made to reach a resolution regarding the manner in which Zuccotti Park is being used by the protesters. Any such resolution will be respectful of the laws of the City of New York and will ensure that the park is used in a way that maintains the health, safety, and viability of the surrounding residential and business community. Later on his radio show, Mayor Michael Bloomberg also indicated that there was some behind-the-scenes political pressure on Brookfield to do the right thing.
My understanding is that Brookfield got lots of calls from many elected officials threatening them and saying, if you don't stop this, we'll make your life more difficult.
Once protesters learned they were free to stay in the park, some decided to march to the New York Stock Exchange. Police made 14 arrests. Police avoided violence, except in this case. Occupy Wall Street is planning a mega march tomorrow as part of a global day of action. Their Facebook page urges supporters to take Times Square, massive convergence and solidarity with the October 15th World Day of Action. We are building a new world. Joining me now is Michael Moore, Academy Award-winning filmmaker, activist, and the author of the new book, Here Comes Trouble, Stories from My Life. Michael, thank you very much for joining me tonight.
Thanks for having me here. And by the way, before we start, can I thank you for coming down there? You were the first live broadcast from this demonstration when you were going to have me in the studio here, and I asked if you would come down there because no mainstream media had been down there live on the air for their broadcast. You came down and did the first live broadcast. So I just thank you from everyone down there and everyone across the country.
Well, it's you who got our cameras down there.
Well, but somebody here had to make the decision to do that, so thank you.
Yeah, well, I heard it. I said, of course we wanted that.
Well, that was
easy. Yeah, Michael wants to do it down there. Is that okay? Yeah, that's okay. Let's get... Michael, the New York media was ready for an explosion this morning. We had the tabloids, the New York Post today, their morning headline, Wall Street face-off, showdown at the Daily News, accompanied by editorials in here that were basically egging on Mayor Bloomberg and saying, you got to get in there and clean this thing up. I really felt something very, very ugly was going to occur this morning. I just think we're very lucky that this was averted.
I did not think that that was going to happen. Now, of course, I've been down there for, on and off half a dozen times in the last couple weeks. I honestly thought that Mayor Bloomberg and those in charge would realize that they would be giving this protest the best headlines of the month if they were to do anything like that. I think they were afraid to go there. I was down there, one cop down there actually today asked him, why don't you think this happened? Why don't you think the eviction happened? And he said, because the mayor's afraid of YouTube. I mean, but when you stop and think about it, the power of the new media, the media that's in the hands of the people, that those in charge are afraid of what could possibly go out. So I think, I'm not surprised that they're not dumb. They didn't get to own most of the world's wealth by being stupid people.
Right.
So the upper 1%, though, they are shaking in their boots right now because this has gone so beyond Zuccotti Park, Liberty Plaza. They're so beyond. It's in so many hundreds of cities now that it's a movement that can't be stopped.
But, it is my impression of Mayor Bloomberg and Ray Kelly, the police commissioner, that they don't want this. They don't. It's not a matter of, oh, we don't want the YouTube video. They don't want the incident. They don't want the violence. They don't want something to get out of control and turn violent. And simply deciding not to go in there was the smartest thing they could decide. And it seems that it's possible that the mayor wanted some political cover. So the statement comes from the owners of the park, which is so peculiar here, because normally these things are public areas. I mean, that's what it was in Chicago in '68, the big riot. They went into a public park to get demonstrators out. It's private property. So the real public controller of the decision turns out to be this thing called Brookfield.
Right, which by the way, the mayor's girlfriend is on the board of directors of this, the people that own the park. So I think, no, they obviously did the right thing because they don't have another choice. It's not really their choice. The choice has been made by the people who are occupying the park. And they're not going. We're not going. We're not going anywhere. We are there until we have justice. And for people that say, well, what does that mean, or what does everybody want? What we want is really a fundamental change. This is no longer about trying to get some bill passed or let's elect this congressman or whatever. We've been down that road. Everyone's been down that road, and everyone's depressed by the way the political system is run. So until we get the money out of that system, thank you, Dylan Ratigan, until we get the money out of that system, we're going to have to really depend on grassroots people demanding this change and making this change occur. And that's what's going to happen. And people are running for office next year, I'm sure, are frightened by this and trying to figure out how to handle it, because unlike the Tea Party, this is not some clique. This is not some ideological clique over here. This is such a massive group of people. I mean, Brian Williams led the evening news tonight with just this incredible report of even Wall Street. People who work on Wall Street are going, you know, I kind of agree with the protesters. I don't really know what, but I mean, they can't. CBS Evening News tonight had 3 stories on. There was not one story that said, well, here's the other side, or here's the opposing side, because it's one of those stories that doesn't really have an opposing side except for the 1% who are on top. In other words, there's nobody that's going to stand in front of a camera and justify the greed that's taken place, the assault on the middle class that's taken place over 30 years. That's what you're seeing. You're seeing this uprising because for 30 years, working people have just been beaten and beaten and beaten to the point where how much more do you want to suck out of us here? You know, you've taken our jobs.
Suck out $5 a month if you use your ATM card. They'd like that.
Yes, they come up with something new.
They can think of more things.
No, they will, and the machine will think of more things. That is how it's designed and built. So that's why it has to stop. It has to stop. We live in a democracy where we, the people, are supposed to control everything, not just go and vote every 2 or 4 years. But we should have control over this economy. We should have a say in how that pie is divided up. And the people don't anymore. The people are just told, I'm sorry, you're losing your health benefits. I'm sorry, no vacation time this year. I'm sorry, no sick days. I'm sorry, you know, your job has just been moved to Brazil. I mean, that's essentially what people have listened to for 30 years, and they just friggin' had it. And that's the end of it. That's it now. If this can't be stopped. Mayor Bloomberg saying we've got to clean the park. It's laughable down there because the cleanup that has to take place is 2 blocks away on the actual Wall Street. Corporate America and Wall Street have to be cleaned up. This and people aren't going to stop until this starts to happen.
Well, Tim Geithner had something to say about cleaning up Wall Street. Let's listen. He was on CNBC, and he was being asked about
his favorite channel.
He was being asked about enforcement actions and this whole question of, you know, who has gone to jail for the crimes against this economy.
Well, let's see who has.
Let's listen to what Tim Geithner had to say.
One of the things that the Occupy Wall Street people point out is that there's been no criminal charges, anything related to what's happened in the financial crisis.
That's not true. And you've seen very, very dramatic enforcement actions already by the enforcement authorities across the U.S. government, and I'm sure you're going to see more to come. You should stay tuned for that.
I don't know what he was talking about.
Maybe he was talking about another country.
I think at best he's referring to things like Madoff and this insider traders case yesterday. A guy got 11 years. Those kinds of things have always been going on. Those are individual speeding tickets on the interstate highway of commerce. That's all those are.
No. That what the people want to see is a perp walk. We want to see the heads of Goldman Sachs, of Chase, of these banks, of these firms, of the rating agencies that were part and parcel of this problem that caused the crash of '08. I can't believe that over 1,000 people have been arrested in the city for nonviolently standing up against this, and not a single perp walk, not a single arrest of these bankers But that's only one. This protest isn't just about arresting bankers. I mean, this is, again, it's not just one fix. It's not just bringing back Glass-Steagall. It's not just let's increase taxes on the rich. I mean, yes, everyone agrees with all this, but we're just going to have a new problem, like you said, with the Bank of America with the debit card charges. They'll come up with something if we don't change the fundamental foundation of this economic system. That's unfair, it's unjust, it's not democratic. People have had it, and this isn't going away.
And it's human beings who are working on Wall Street. And, you know, Mitt Romney's fond of calling corporations people. Well, if they are people, they have a corporate civic citizenship that needs to be brought to their decision making. I mean, one of the things I like about what you're saying is this demonstration is beyond politics. It's beyond past this bill or past that clause of this bill. Because you're not going to be able to anticipate what these companies will do next as long as they have absolutely no sense of corporate citizenship.
And as long as they can buy the politicians that run for Congress. As long as they can control that, it's a rigged game. And the 99% who are not part of this, who didn't cause this, who've been the victims of this, I'll tell you what's so great about being down there. You have all kinds of people. And nobody's talking about, should abortion be legal? Should I have a right to own a gun? You know, do I care if those two gay guys are married over there? All those social issues that those on top have had to divide working people with over the years, that's like kind of, who cares about any of that right now? We care about getting our country back in our hands and out of the hands of the kleptomaniacs who have formed a kleptocracy. That's our democracy. It used to be our country, and people want this back, and they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop. And I just want to encourage anybody who's watching this out there to get involved. There's Occupy things going on in cities all over the country. It's small towns. Niles, Michigan, small town where I come from, has 11,000 population. Had 100 people out there the other day. 100 people in just an 11,000 population town. It's going on in places you don't even know about. It's not in the news media. Everybody out there, get involved. This is the time. If you've sat on the couch for a long time and said, I'm sick and tired of this, these politicians, these fat cats, this is the time to quit complaining and get up and get out the door and get involved in this. You'll meet all kinds of people. They're your neighbors. There's all kinds of people there. Be part of this. And tomorrow is the big day. I mean, all around the world, October 15th. Mm-hmm. Demonstrations, not just in hundreds of cities around the country, but all over the world in support of what's going on with Occupy Wall Street. So this is a big day tomorrow, big day in New York, big day across the country, big day to go out and be an American.
Occupy Wall Street has cut its first commercial, which of course Occupy Wall Street cannot afford to get on this network, so we're going to play it right now in the segment. Let's give them a free 30 seconds right here. Let's watch it.
I want to see more serious political conversations starting to happen.
I want corporations out of the government, and I want people back in.
I want peace rather than militarization.
I want the top wealthiest Americans to be taxed higher and that money to go to education.
I want economic justice.
I want a greater regulation of the banks and the markets.
I want my kids to have a job and health care.
I want true democracy for the 99% of us who don't have it anymore.
Media's been asking the question from the start, what do they want?
Oh, there you go.
There's the answer.
Believe me, yes, all you have to do is go down there and you get the answer quickly. You've been down there. This show's been down there. It's clear what people want. That's a beautiful, and you know what that spot costs really to make? Nothing. This is, again, what you can do in your town. If I could can I just talk directly again to people? You can make these little spots in your town. You can put it up on the internet. Send it to 10 friends and tell them to send it to 10 others. Now 100 seen it. They'll send it to 10, 1,000 have seen it. You've made this spot that's been seen by 1,000 people. Everybody is affected by this. Everybody has a story, whether they've lost their health insurance, whether they've lost their job, whether they've got a student loan that they're paying off still after 20 years. I mean, on and on and on. The boot has been on people's necks for too long. They want the boot off.
Guess who doesn't get it? Herman Cain, who had
number 9,
who
number
in,
9,
who in
number
this
9.
nice, calm newspaper, Wall Street Face-Off, had an op-ed piece today in the New York Post where he says, capitalism from Wall Street to Main Street is the economic engine that's made the United States the superpower it is. I have a hard time imagining what these protesters think will come of this, that Wall Street execs will come running out of their offices to write them a check. Rather than protest against Wall Street, those camped out in the streets should examine their own failures and take a hard look in the mirror. This is the guy who says, if you're poor, blame yourself.
Right. Well, he's running in the wrong century. That would have sounded great maybe back in the 1800s, but those days are over. And it's when you and I were growing up, there were rich people, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and I seem to remember they lived pretty well, didn't they?
They had millions of dollars.
They had millions of dollars.
They didn't have billions of dollars.
And you grew up where? You grew up in Boston. In Boston. Okay,
yeah.
so they had summer homes out on Cape Cod.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. And in Michigan,
yeah.
they lived in Bloomfield Hills or Grosse Pointe, and
they drove to their summer homes. They didn't get there in private jets.
Yeah, but they because they had to pay 50 or 60 or 70% in taxes. They paid a lot in taxes, and yet they lived a great life, didn't they? And my dad, who built spark plugs at General Motors, other dads, moms, nobody really begrudged them too much because, well, they built the factories, they gave us jobs, and they entered into an agreement with the working class. And this was the agreement, Lawrence. If you, the working people, if you work hard and we prosper, you prosper. They changed it to you work hard, we prosper, now you lose your job. And they totally flushed the American dream down the toilet, and patriotic people around the country are standing up against their and saying they want it back. They want, and no one would begrudge you for if you build us a factory and create jobs and you want to have your summer home on Cape Cod, go and do what you people do out there, right? Because at least when we were growing up, our dads could send the kids to college, had a roof over everyone's head. My dad, spark plug worker, 4 weeks paid vacation, full medical, no deductibles, full dental, the whole. I mean, this is what built this country. These people have just gone about trying to destroy the country for 30 years since Reagan fired the air traffic controllers. It's been a downward slide, and this is the end. This is the end. I knew this would happen sooner or later. I knew people would rise up, and you're going to see this now continue all over the country.
Michael Moore, author of Here Comes Trouble. Thank you very much for joining me tonight, Michael.
Thank you very much for staying on this issue. We love you for it.
Got to have you come back.